So in episode 2, Johnny opens up the dojo and he's trying to teach Miguel the old school 80s style of karate, but his methods aren't really hitting home with today's generation. He's trying to teach him how he learned. The first one being strike first. Using the analogy that if you see some babes at a party, you want to be the first guy in there. You don't want to wait for some other guy to swoop in and steal them, because everyone uses the term babe now. In the middle of this 80s style lesson, some rando walks in, and when Johnny asks him if he's there to learn karate, he says, "No, I'm a city inspector. I'm making sure this place is up to code." And it most certainly is not up to code. He tells Johnny that he'll be back in a week and he has to have the place up to code in order to actually open up the business. And Johnny had no idea he needed to do any of this. Luckily for Johnny, though, he has free labor in a very loyal student in Miguel. So him and Miguel start getting to work, and Miguel sees the trophies and inquires about how Johnny earned them. Johnny fills him in on his karate career, leaving out the whole getting kicked in the face part. But then Miguel gets a phone call from his mother. And when Johnny hears him say, "I love you too," Johnny says, "You have a girlfriend?" He says, "No, that was my mom." Miguel tells him how he told his mom that he's on the debate team because his mom would not approve of him being violent. And Johnny asks him, "Well, what about your dad? Would he approve of you getting your ass kicked?" But Miguel fills him in that his dad isn't really a part of his life, which leads to a very awkward situation with the two of them. Now, Daniel, meanwhile, has attended a country club party with his wife, Amanda, and his son, Anthony LaRussa. And Anthony is a kid who's got his head buried in an iPad, and Daniel is trying to get his head out of that iPad unsuccessfully. And he goes over to vent to Amanda about it when they're approached by a family friend named Isaiah and his daughter Aisha. They start making small talk about what they've been doing over the summer, and Aisha inquires as to where Samantha is. But before Daniel can answer, Amanda says, "Oh, she's with her grandmother. I'll tell her you said hi." And when Isaiah and Aisha walk away, Daniel looks at Amanda and says, "Grandmother? I can't get her to call my mother." And Amanda says, "What do you want me to tell her? She's out hanging out with her more popular friends?" Because Aisha is clearly a nerd. And Daniel's a little annoyed that Samantha isn't there, but Daniel's also on edge because earlier in the day, as he was driving to work, he looked over to the left at a red light and saw the new Cobra Kai. So he's a little on edge. But he might have good reason to be, because Samantha isn't just hanging out with her new friend, she's hosting a pool party at her house without her parents' knowledge. And some of those friends are Kyler and his group, the same group that beat up Miguel. And Kyler and Sam have a little bit of a thing going. When Daniel gets home, he kind of freaks out a little bit, embarrassing Sam in front of her friends and kicking everybody out. Him and Amanda have a conversation about it, and Daniel can't understand why she won't hang out with Aisha or her old friends. He doesn't really like these new friends that she has. But Amanda reminds him there's nothing wrong with being cool. That night, as Daniel is walking around the house, he sees a newspaper clipping from when he defeated Cobra Kai with Mr. Miyagi. And then right next to it is a picture of him and Sam doing karate when she was younger. And he's kind of reminiscing about how they used to bond doing that, and how he misses those days. He goes and talks to Sam, who is FaceTiming with her friends. And after she hangs up, he apologizes for kicking all the friends out, but she apologizes for having a party without his knowledge. He then inquires as to the boys that were there, and she admits, "Yeah, there's a boy named Kyler who I kind of have a thing for. We've been talking a little bit." So Daniel invites him to their family dinner that Friday night. And Sam seems pretty open to this, so she's going to invite him. The next day seems to be the first day of school, and Miguel doesn't really know anybody. He's new to the school, and he doesn't know where to sit. Most of the tables are packed, so he finds a table with two kids and asks, "Can I sit here?" And what you'll learn is that Miguel doesn't really pick up on sarcasm at all. The two kids at the table are a kid named Dimitri and a kid named Eli. And Dimitri is flowing with sarcastic one-liners that Miguel isn't picking up. And Eli is pretty quiet and reserved, very self-conscious because he has a cleft lip. After the group exchanges names, Samantha and her new popular friends walk by, and they've definitely got Miguel's attention. But Dimitri says, "Dude, don't torture yourself. Those are the rich girls." And Miguel says, "Well, do you ever talk to them?" But Dimitri laughs at this, saying, "Oh yeah, we hang out all the time. We make out, we give each other hand jobs." No, man. Do you know what table you're sitting at? You basically guaranteed you're going to be a virgin until the age of 30 by sitting at this table. Eli then notices that their queen bee, a girl named Yasmin, is looking in their direction. And he says, "Yeah, she's probably making fun of me." But Miguel says, just because she's rich doesn't mean that she's mean. But no, that's exactly what she's doing, mocking Eli for the way that he looks. She then turns her attention to Aisha, who just sat down at a table near them, calling her Fuglisha. And this is really awkward for Samantha, who's been childhood friends with Aisha for years. But Samantha doesn't stick up for her, just looking in her direction and smiling. Back with Miguel's table, though, Miguel isn't blind. He knows that these girls are gorgeous, but he can't figure out why Dimitri, who is clearly in love with Yasmin, won't get up and talk to her. And it comes down to the fact that Dimitri doesn't want to get rejected. So Miguel, remembering what Johnny said about striking first, gets up and starts walking over to the table. But before he can get there, Kyler and his group of friends swoop in, and they kind of give Miguel a look like, yeah, what do you want? So Miguel just sheepishly walks back to the nerd table. After school that day, Miguel heads to the dojo to continue his lessons, and Johnny starts teaching him the Cobra Strike, which is really nothing more than a punch to the face. Johnny then gets a phone call, though, from his son Robbie's school. And Johnny isn't the emergency contact. It's actually Robbie's mom, but she's not picking up. So the principal went down the list and had to call Johnny. And the reason she's calling is because Robbie has gotten caught with Molly, the drug. So Johnny gets on the phone with Robbie and says, what are you doing with drugs? You want to throw your life away? But Robbie finds that comical coming from Johnny, just handing the phone over back to the assistant principal. And she tells Johnny, I guess I'll continue to try to get a hold of his mom. When Johnny looks back over at Miguel, who's trying to perfect the Cobra Strike, Miguel's really just playing pitter-patter with this dummy. So Johnny says, no, you're doing this all wrong. Envision your enemy. Punch through him. And Miguel envisions Kyler. And all of a sudden, those punches get real straight and real fast. Later that night, Miguel and Johnny continue to clean up the dojo, getting it up to code, with Miguel being tasked with going to clean the toilets. And that's when Daniel walks into the dojo, because Daniel had family dinner night where they invited Kyler. And Daniel noticed that Kyler had a black eye and his knuckles were all scraped up, and asked what happened when Kyler lied to him, saying that him and his friends had gone to the mini mart in the strip mall for some protein bars when they were attacked by this random guy outside who busted out some karate. And since Daniel had seen that Cobra Kai opened up in a strip mall with a mini mart, he's been able to put two and two together. So he's shown up at the dojo to confront Johnny, saying, really? You're now beating up kids? But Johnny says, no, I wasn't beating up kids. I was beating up a couple of assholes. Daniel didn't come here for confrontation, telling Johnny, just stay away from my daughter and her friends. But Johnny laughs at this, saying, well, your daughter's friends were wailing on a kid who was half their size, so maybe you don't think you know your daughter as well as you think you do. Why don't you get your house in order? That's when Miguel walks out from the bathroom, having no idea that Daniel was there or this conversation was going down because he had headphones in. And he apologized to Johnny for interrupting, saying, sorry, Sensei. And when Daniel hears this, he finds it comical that anyone is calling Johnny Lawrence Sensei, telling Miguel, look, kid, I don't know what this guy's telling you, but if you continue to listen to him, you're going to end up just like him. He then turns back to Johnny and says, you and I, this? Yeah, we're not done, and starts to walk out. But Johnny yells at him, hey man, I'm right here. But Daniel just waves him off, basically indicating he's not worth it, walks out. Thank you so much for watching this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. If you don't see the next video up in the corner, don't worry, I'll get it up in a couple days. Hit thumbs up if you liked the video, hit thumbs down if you didn't, and be nice in the comments section.